Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another Planet Coaster video. So we are back at our Knott's Berry Farm recreation and today we'll be working on GhostRider. This video has been highly requested, so I'm excited to show off what I've done. The format of the video will be similar to episode 1, so I'll start off with a time lapse and move into some facts and history of this ride, and at the end I'll show off some ride cinematics and a crisp POV for everybody to enjoy. So if you want to jump to that, I'll have timestamps in the description. As you can see, I'm showing off some footage of the completed ride, but we will also spend a lot of time adding scenery and custom supports to make this ride look as neat as possible. So without further ado, let's jump into the time-lapse. Okay, so jumping into the time-lapse here, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to be building our track, and I'm using the same technique I used in episode 1 with Silver Bullet, and I'm just tracing over the aerials that I placed down with a bunch of billboards to kind of understand where the horizontal direction of the track is going. And this was, it has its ups and downs because you can understand horizontally where the track is. I built these billboards 1-to-1, so theoretically they should be, it should be to scale in the horizontal direction, but the vertical direction, similar to the first part, I had to kind of eyeball the airtime hills and the curves and the turns in order to get a sense of how tall they are. And how I did this was pretty much just looking at Google Maps and watching a bunch of POVs and watching some off-ride footage too, just to kind of gauge how tall they were. And in fact, I also went on Google Earth, and there's a setting where you can kind of get an understanding of elevations of things, so I also did that and just cross-compared everything and tried to figure out something that would work. But yeah, so and then from there I would raise the height of the airtime hill to what I thought it would be best based on all those methods that I just mentioned, and I would smooth out the hill so it kind of worked with the better profile of the track, and after that I feel like it kind of just falls into place. Another thing that I had to do about this ride was it has a different shape than a lot of other steel coasters. So with Silver Bullet, for example, the ride was extremely there's a lot of curves and turns, and everything wasn't exactly parallel and square. But with wooden coasters, and you see this on a lot of wooden coasters, it has an out and back sort of structure, so everything is square and parallel with each other. In fact, this one, it has a drop and then it turns 90 degrees and then it goes around a bunch of elements, but it comes back on itself. So the track kind of is right next to each other and it comes back on itself in a lot of places. This ride comes back on itself 4 times. So everything really needed to be aligned and square. And how I did that was I took a bunch of straight sections of track, and I would build it in one direction and then delete the track and build it in the other direction, and I would plan out where the future track pieces would go, and that kind of kept everything square. I don't know if that makes sense, but I showed some clips of that maybe earlier on to kind of understand. I hope that made sense, but it helped me kind of plan things out and keep everything square, and I think the profile of the track turned out pretty well, so I'm happy about it. So yeah, moving on, I think I wanted to talk a little bit about some kind of interesting facts and cool stuff about this ride. So this ride was manufactured by CCI. It opened in 1998. And this coaster is well regarded as one of the better wooden coasters out there. And the reason for that is it has a really fast pace. There's a lot of airtime, has a lot of lateral forces, and the length of the ride is pretty impressive considering the amount of space that Knott's had here. So pretty cool ride. I personally love this ride a lot too. I think the pacing is relentless. It's a lot of fun. Like I mentioned, a lot of airtime, a lot of great places that you're just kind of being thrown around. So I love this ride so much. Actually, I think my favorite part of this ride is the pacing. It just never gives up. It's always hauling, going super fast. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. And yeah, so maybe some interesting facts about this ride. A reason that it has a pretty fast pace is because the coaster is it's built to maintain seismic like loading. we're in, this is in Southern California. The San Andreas Fault is really close by, so seismic loading on structures usually governs. And what that means is the structures have to be a little bit over designed in order to take those forces. So in a lot of places in GhostRider, you'll see a lot of the bends and columns and beams. They're like doubled up if you ever look at pictures near the base, and that causes the structure to be a lot stiffer, so it doesn't sway and move as much as the cars go around or as the trains go around on it. And usually in other wooden coasters, wood is very flexible, so in other wooden coasters, as a coaster car would go around on this track, it would flex and a lot of the energy would dissipate and go into this the structure and into the foundation. But with GhostRider, everything is so stiff that the track doesn't absorb energy, and the energy is transferred to the cars, and that kind of makes everything. It doesn't, the energy is just making it haul. So in essence, a stiffer structure makes coasters run kind of faster. So, and I'll get into it has its benefits with that. Obviously, with the fast pace, it's really great, but it also has its downfall. This ride actually had a lot of faults with it because of this, structure, this stiff structure they have to build. But aside from that, one thing I'm doing right here is I was building a cover for the drop, and that was for they had a lot of complaints about screaming in the neighbors nearby. Knott's is kind of landlocked, and there's a lot of neighborhoods nearby, so there was a bunch of screaming from the drop, so they added a cover on it. And it's sort of a blessing and a curse because it doesn't look that great, but it has adds a little bit of a head chopper effect going down that drop. And personally, I think it's kind of a unique experience going through a tunnel on the first drop. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, anyways, the structure kind of it decayed a little bit because of how stiff it was, and the track got really overused because there's so much stress being placed on the track, and as it wasn't being transferred into the structure. So in turn, this kind of decayed the track a lot faster than it probably should have, and this made the ride extremely rough. So I remember I went on this ride actually when it had its original track and trains, and it was extremely rough. It would rattle your brain pretty much. And it kind of turned this ride into what was a world-class wooden coaster, and it turned it into a really rough and not so pleasant experience. And Knott's wanted to revitalize the good old days of this ride. So in 2015, they announced that GCI would be refurbishing the ride, and it opened in 2016. So they added Millennium Flyer trains to replace the PTC trains, and they also reprofiled the entire track to bring it to its former glory. And there's actually sections of track where they reprofiled it just slightly from the original in order to kind of dissipate some of those lateral forces and other forces acting on the track. And it kind of helps it makes the track last a lot longer. So yeah, and I've been on the newer version of this ride, and I think it's well received improvement in my opinion. I love the new trains. I love the track profiling, makes it a lot of fun and really fast. So, and actually there's a portion where they removed a mid-course brake run, so you're hauling through the entire layout, and I think that just makes it a lot of fun. So the refurb I think was a great choice. There were some rumors that they were going to do an RMC, but I don't think that really works with Knott's. They have this classic wooden coaster in Ghost Town. I think it works perfectly. So pretty cool facts about the ride, I think. And yeah, so now we're kind of just adding all the fun details. I added all the structures and all those crazy beams and columns, and they're called bents, I believe, in a wooden coaster. So it was really tedious to put each one of those I copy pasted for hours and hours, and it took a long time, but got it done. Fun fact: I actually had a little. I had the so you call it the thing that was going around, and I needed to isolate for a while. So I had all this time where I was just copying, pasting supports, going stir crazy in my house. So a little bit of a blessing to have that, but also wasn't super great. So, but I was able to make a lot of great progress on this coaster. So I was able to get GhostRider done, which I was dreading to do because of all of those supports that I knew I had to copy and paste, but got it done. So we're off to more fun stuff later on. So right now we are adding a little bit of scenery around the ride. And then there's a little bit of an entrance that there's this like iconic entrance where you have this cave where you enter into, and it's like a mine shaft, and it has like the GhostRider symbol over it. Fun fact, actually, I was reading about it, and it used to be where the old panning for gold used to be. And there was like an old volcano in this area too, but now it has the GhostRider queue. One thing I actually got a lot of questions on in the last video was how I made that silver bullet sign. And it's actually pretty easy. All you do is you grab a bunch of signs, and you each sign has its own letter. If you want to like make a curved sort of layout like I did here, curved letter layout, each sign has its own letter. You rotate it to where the layout that you want it to be, and then you put this up against a wall. And when you put signs up against a wall in Planet Coaster, there's a sweet spot where like the back of the sign doesn't show, but the letter of the sign shows on the wall. So you kind of have to move it back and forth in order to get that sweet spot. And you kind of saw earlier where that was. But yeah, so I am almost. I think I'm kind of nearing the end of the time lapse. Sorry for not uploading for a while, but I was busy with some life things. I know it's been like maybe 6 months. Fun fact, I filmed this like back in June. So yeah, it was a long time ago. May was when I actually recorded this. So finally getting around to editing it. Really sorry, but watching this has actually made me motivated to get back to building this park. It's always been a dream of mine to have a fully recreated park in one of these like roller coaster simulation games. I've been doing it for so long now. So yeah, and like it's really important to me that I make this to scale. Like in fact, here you can kind of see I'm going back on the ground, and I'm making sure that the view is matching what I'm seeing on Google Earth. So you kind of see me pause. I'm looking at Google Earth and making sure that everything is kind of aligning with where everything is. So, and every tree is placed approximately where it is in real life. So a lot of good stuff is going to this. A lot of dedication. Anyways, you're nearing the end of the time lapse. Thank you all for watching. Have fun watching the POV and some off-road footage. Bye.